Hi, this is Pastor Dave Andrus. In the effort of providing continuing leadership training, I have a very good friend with me here today, Barry Voss. Barry is very involved with training pastors on more effectively. Well, why don't I leave you tell Barry what you're about? And obviously, the point is here to help us in Lutheran Blind Mission at the outreach centers to help train our leaders to be more effective.
Sure. Thanks, Pastor Dave. Thank you for the invitation to come here and to participate in this kind of audio training format, which is kind of new to us.
You're
Um,
welcome. Glad you're here.
yeah, I've got involved in a ministry of training and equipping church leaders and pastors around the world. And mostly we focus in areas of the world that are poor and remote, where leaders either don't have access to training or have never been trained. As you might know, many pastors and leaders in the developing world, in the mission field as we call it here in the United States, barely have an eighth grade education and have never been exposed to principles of management and principles of leadership that could help them become more effective in leading their churches.
Wow, wow. So the training really is helpful for them and just the practical stuff of how to run an organization.
Right. Because one of the things we've learned is that most seminaries and Bible schools around the world teach pastors and prepare pastors on how to preach and how to teach the word. But they
Yeah.
provide very little education on how to manage people, how to budget, how to plan,
Mm,
because these are the things that as a leader of an organization you are often required to do.
indeed, indeed. Tell me a little about yourself, Barry.
Sure. Well, I grew up as a Lutheran, lifelong Lutheran, and um, uh, but that was by default because my mom was Episcopalian and my dad was Church of Christ, and they couldn't agree on either of those churches, so they went to the Lutheran church.
Is that right?
So that's how I became a Lutheran, and I just grew up in the church, and I've always been connected to the church. Was confirmed, baptized, and
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Glenview, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago.
Ooh, okay.
That's why I'm a Cub fan.
Uh,
So
we love you anyway.
yeah, I know. Everybody loves Cub fans because it's hard. We're the lovable losers, as they say.
Indeed.
So yeah, and I just grew up in the church and served
Hmm.
in the church for many years. And then in 1996, the pastor of our church was going on a mission trip,
Hmm.
and he invited anyone in the congregation to come with him. And so I got home from work that day. I saw the newsletter. It's like I knew instantly I was supposed to go.
Now, where were you working at that time? What type of job?
I was working as a database marketing manager for a manufacturer in
So
Chicago
nothing to
suburbs.
do with the church.
Nothing to do with the church.
Okay,
But I
okay.
always thought about doing a mission trip at some point, and
Yeah.
this was just the right opportunity to go with my pastor. And I just went just to experience the mission field and contribute where I could.
Okay.
I play the guitar. I've been involved in worship leading, and so my role on the mission team was to help lead worship for the team, but not in this conference where we went to.
So you went on this mission trip, and what did you find out?
Well, God confronted me on the mission trip in a big way through the testimony of a pastor from the country of Uzbekistan. And he
Where
showed,
is Uzbekistan?
well, it's in Central Asia,
Okay.
kind of close. This conference was in Kazakhstan, which is the
Okay.
largest of the former Soviet republics.
Okay.
And through this testimony, God showed me that my faith was pretty weak. That on the outside I looked like a Christian, but on the inside my heart was still far from God. In other words, I believed in Jesus,
Right,
and I went to church, I did all the right things, I served,
right.
but yet I really wasn't living my life for Jesus.
Okay.
And it was out of that conference that I realized I need to either live for Jesus or might as well just walk away from the church. I mean, what's the point of continuing to go to church if you're really not going to live out your faith? And so I came back from that trip and rededicated myself to wanting to live everything of my life for Jesus. And that's, my life just completely turned around.
I'm sure it did.
I went on a couple more mission trips, and then I got felt the call from the Lord to lead a team. I was always interested in travel, and I thought it'd be great to take a team of people out and expose others to the mission field like I'd been exposed, and figured that that might help them in their walk of faith.
Sure.
And so I started doing that, thinking that that's what God wanted me to do, just
Mm-hmm.
take a team once or twice a year while I'm still working in business.
Mm-hmm.
And we took a team to the Philippines back in 2001. It was my first group that I took as our own ministry. We
Okay.
formulated our ministry in 2001,
Okay.
mostly just as a vehicle so we could collect the monies and manage everything ourselves. And it was on that mission trip that I did a teaching on church administration. The pastor there said, "Well, will you teach our people about managing the church?" And it's like, well, I'm a business person. I've been a leader in church, but I've never been a pastor or a manager of a church. But I said, well, I'll go out there and see what I can put together. So taking the experience that I had about management and then looking at the Bible, putting the two together and trying to come up with some principles and tools to help his pastors in the Philippines be able to manage their church more effectively.
Wonderful.
And then he asked me, after I had done this teaching, he thought it went very well. So he said, will you come back next year and teach on this subject for a whole week at my Bible school? Because we need, all these leaders need this training. And my first...
And you were training the leaders or pastors over there.
Right.
Okay,
Pastors,
very
leaders,
good.
evangelists.
Yeah.
And the first reaction was a big gulp. You want me to do what?
Sure.
And so, but I knew that was a call from God, and so I put this training together back in 2001. We called it Management for Church Leaders.
Mm-hmm.
It's not church management. It's taking management principles, marrying them with the Bible, what Scripture says, and teaching principles that, when applied, will help the pastor and church leader be more effective in leading and managing their churches.
And God does provide throughout many sectors of life principles and understanding. I mean, that's why doctors know how to set arms and help it heal. So you were bringing this understanding that you had from the business field into helping pastors manage a simple, small organization we call the church.
Right.
Wonderful.
And it went very well the first time we taught it in the Philippines. And then we started to get requests from other parts of the world. Kazakhstan, where I first went, they had a Bible school there. They wanted me to come and train. And what we found is that there's a real big need for training of pastors and leaders in the mission field.
Sure.
And management and leadership was a key type of training that was needed. And then everything that happened from there was just God taking over. And next thing you know,
God has a way of doing that.
5 years later, and it's been 6 years now, I've been doing this full time. I left my consulting practice as the need became greater. We do this full time. We raise our own money, all of our funds for our living expenses as well as all of our travel expenses. And we have a plan now for our ministry to reach most of the developed world. And that's our primary focus.
About how many trips do you do a year around the world?
I'm trying to do roughly 8 to 10 trips a year.
Okay.
And we're trying to reach more and more countries. We're also building a network of foreign partners that when we train them, they go out and train others. So in reaching 140 nations, it's not important that I get there. What's important is that the training gets there.
Yeah.
And we have just seen a tremendous desire and need for the training everywhere we've gone. It's been trained in 22 countries thus far, and it's been translated into 8 different languages. And it's pretty, I guess I would say it's pretty universal in the sense that it applies everywhere.
Sure.
And we don't necessarily make a lot of changes, but we've also had 10 years of experience teaching it now, and it's now in its third revision where we've updated it to keep it so that it's more universal, that we focus on teaching principles and providing tools to help pastors as they lead their churches and as they go out and do evangelism and manage the activities of their church.
Thank you, Barry, and thank you for coming to help us in Lutheran Blind Mission.
You're welcome.